Hello all, welcome to this session. In this session, I am going to answer one of the Java interview questions. That is, what is the main disadvantage of arrays in Java? Let me answer. The main disadvantage of arrays in Java is arrays are fixed in size. When you create the array, there itself in the same statement, you have to specify the size of the array. While creating the array, you have to specify the size of the array and that size of the array is going to be fixed. Later statements in the program, we cannot modify that particular size or we cannot update or dynamically change the size of the array in the later steps of the program. While creating the array itself, we have to specify the size of the array and in the later steps, you cannot modify, update or dynamically change the size of the array. That's why we say arrays are fixed in size and this is the disadvantage of the arrays. Okay, the main disadvantage of the arrays is arrays are fixed in size. Let me practically demonstrate and prove you that for you. Further, I'll switch to Eclipse IDE and here I'll create a new class. I'll just name this class as Classium with main method. So I'm going to create an array here. Inside the main method, I'm going to create an array. While creating the array itself, I'm going to specify the size of the array. For example, if I specify the size of the array as 3, that means into this particular array, I can only store 3 elements because size of the array is 3. While creating the array itself, we have specified the size of the array and later we cannot update this size. No matter you do whatever, you cannot store more than 3 elements into this particular array. During the declaration of the array, whatever the size you mentioned, that many number of elements only you can store in this program. In the later steps, if you try to modify the size of the array, it won't be possible, guys. Okay. So what we have to do is AR of 0 is equal to 9, AR of 1 is equal to 5, AR of 2 is equal to 7. Okay, like the three elements I'll specify. Okay, so I can store up to 3 elements. If I try to store more than 3 elements into this particular array, I'm going to get an exception, guys. Okay, compiler error will not come, but an exception will come here. If I print out this array like arrays dot to string of. Okay, arrays is a predefined class from java.util package. It has predefined static methods. Arrays predefined class has toString kind of predefined method, which will convert the array into the string. Okay. Now, if I try to print this array here, I have to pass this array that I want to convert into string and print it out. Okay. So array elements will be printed. That is 957 will be printed in the output. Okay, without any problem. But later, if you try to increase the size of this array, here three elements, done. But if I try to store more than 3 elements or, there is no means of, updating the size of this array, guys, or changing the size of this array or dynamically updating. If you try to store any other element, okay, more than 3 elements, if you try to store into this array, you see Java compiler will not give you any error. But when you run the program, okay, but when you run the program, when you run the program at the line 17, you are going to get an exception as array index out of bounds exception. Okay. You'll get an exception here saying array index out of bounds exception. You see 957 got printed firstly. And after that, when you try to assign fourth element, okay, which is not possible because you cannot change or update or modify the size of the array. Only 3 elements, up to 3 allowed. Fourth element, if you try, you will not get any compiler error. But when you run the program during the runtime, you will get an exception saying array index out of bounds exception you will get. Okay. Array index out of bounds exception at the class that 17th line you got the exception and remaining statements will not be executed because whenever an exception comes in Java, thus the program execution stops there itself and remaining code will not be executed no matter how many statements are there. After the statement giving an exception in Java, the runtime error in Java will not be executed, guys. This statement in this program which was trying to update the size of the array by trying to assign fourth element into this array has failed this program by giving a runtime exception or runtime error known as array index out of bounds exception. Invalid 3 out of bounds for length 3. Only the size of the array is 3. You are trying to modify it, which is not possible. Because of that, you got a runtime error or exception known as array index out of bounds exception. Okay. So this program proves that we cannot modify or update or change the size of the array. Okay. Arrays are fixed in size. While creating itself, you have to specify the size of the array. And later in the program, if you try to increase the size or update the size or modify or dynamically change the size of the array, it won't be possible in Java. That is a major or main disadvantage of arrays in Java, guys. With practical demonstration, I've answered this question for you. So that's all for this session. Thank you. Bye-bye.